Is your bark bigger than your bite? Is your sizzle better than your steak? We'll find out in today's vlog. The perception deception is coming up next.
Gather up, you weary souls. Show 'em you ain't dead. Tell 'em no, you ain't coming home. Woo, rise. Woo, rise. Woo.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Hope you are having an awesome week so far. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Just click the little subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell next to it so that you're notified every time I upload new content. Want to follow me across social media? You can do that as well. It's at the Steve Freeman on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and just about everywhere else. Today's topic is the perception deception. After last week's vlog, I got some emails and some comments and messages from you guys wanting me to talk more about the perception deception. So I thought this week would be a great time to do that. We're going to talk about what it is, how to identify it, and more importantly, how to avoid it. You know, just like in anything, before you can actually fix a problem, you have to identify that there is a problem. And perception is one of the biggest problems facing the music industry or just about any other industry that you really want to look at. And here's the problem. So many people are actually more interested in the perception of success than actually achieving it. And that's a very dangerous thing because of the growing popularity of social media and everybody being on it all the time, at work, in the car, everywhere. It seems like I was just noticing the other day, I was driving down the road and I literally counted 14 cars as I passed them that were on their phone. And they're either texting or they're on Facebook or they're on Instagram. It has completely consumed our lives. And the problem with that, I believe, we have actually been led to believe that instead of hard work, struggle, and sacrifice to actually achieve success, we see it as more valuable as having perceived success. You know, I wrote something down and I wanted to make sure that I said it again exactly the way that I typed it out. So I actually want to read this to you. We have been led to believe that instead of hard work, struggle, sacrifice, if we can just make people see us or perceive us as successful, whether we are or not, that will lead to actual success or fame without the hardship and time commitment that it takes to actually be successful for real. Isn't that true? I mean, when you look around and we have such a tendency to base our opinions on people of what their social media numbers are and what that perceived fame or that perceived success tells us about ourselves or other people. Now, the laws of attraction do apply. If you look around, you'll see it all the time. Success begats success, which means that you'll tend to find that most successful people continue to be successful. It's the laws of attraction. Positive people tend to attract more positive people around them. Negative people attract negativity. Successful people tend to attract more success to themselves and every other thing that they do. But what you'll see a lot of times is when that circle actually stops, that's when you start to figure out that somebody's success or somebody's positivity is actually fake and it's not real. And when you scratch the surface of it, you find the truth and you find the reality. And that reality is so much further away from the perception. That's when that stops. One of the biggest pitfalls of the perception deception is when your reality is so far away from the perception. To me, I think one of the biggest dangers of perception is I look around at especially in the music business, at artists, but I also see it a lot in the business world. And that is I start to see people buying into their own perception. You know, you hear stories from time to time, or you see it in movies of things where people can be taught to pass a lie detector test. And they do that by selling that lie to themselves and making it so real to themselves that when they're actually taking the polygraph or the lie detector test, that they believe the lie that they're telling, so it's no longer a lie. Perception works the same way, and the most dangerous thing, I think, for anybody, the reason that you don't want your perception too far away from your reality is the fact that you start buying into it. And it's very dangerous when you buy more into your perception than your reality. Then you perpetuate that and you get more people to buy into your perception. It's no different than a lie, in all honesty. It's not really that different at all. And what did all of our parents tell us? One lie leads to a bigger lie, which leads to a bigger lie, and then all of a sudden you're living a lie. Whether it's the music business or any other business, perception is the exact same way. 99% of the time, the perception is not the reality. I'm encouraging you to avoid this perception deception by not buying into it yourself. If you want to perpetuate a perception, make sure that you've got solid ground and reality underneath it so that when people do scratch your surface, it's not a lie, it's actually reality. You know, going back to what I said a few minutes ago, I blame social media 100% for creating this need for people to create this unreal utopian perception about themselves where everything is great all the time and they're constantly moving forward and things are constantly getting better. Now, I'm going to bring this back to the music business for a second, and I want to give you a couple examples. I can't tell you the number of times that I've been working with a new artist and they come over for a writing session, or we're in the studio and producing a record, or whatever scenario it might be. It never fails, the conversation always turns around to them saying and or asking advice and questions, and something goes like this. I don't understand why artist XYZ is out on the road. I just saw they signed with a major booking agent. They're out on the road playing everywhere. That's what I want to be doing. Their career is launching and going so much faster and further than mine. Why can't I be like them? Why is my career not going as fast as theirs? Why am I not as successful as they are? Now let's break it down and let's talk about how this applies to the perception deception. Fact. New artist, independent artist, listen to this. Most of the time, when you see an artist that has just signed to a major booking agency like William Morris or CAA, Creative Artist Agency, or any of the other the agency group, any of the other major booking agencies out there, when they sign a new artist, most of the time that artist is out there as added value for other acts. The booking agent goes to a venue and says, okay, we can let you have this act, but we've got this new act and we'd like them to open the show, but it's not going to be any cost to you. Or that cost is totally wrapped into the package and the artist isn't getting paid. It's more or less what we call added value. You know, you see those commercials where it's $19.99 and if you order in the next 5 minutes, you're going to get 2 of them. That's called added value. It's no different in the music business or any other business, really. So these artists see these other artists going out on the road, and the perception is that they are accomplishing a lot more than they are, and they're getting further down the road. When the truth of the matter is that these artists aren't making money. They're coming out of their own pocket just to be able to do this. But the perception is that they've signed with a major booking agent, and that gets them ground that maybe you aren't getting. Now, that is perceived success, and that is perceived moving forward. But what's it really doing for them? Are they making a living, or is their living being made very hard to make? You can't make a living being added value. So while you may be sitting at home on a Saturday night wishing you were on a stage and somewhere playing in front of 500 or 1,000 people or more, and you're sitting there and you're frustrated and you're looking on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and you're seeing these artists post being in wherever venue, whatever state and whatever city, and they're all pumped and they're excited, and you start to feel depressed because you're not there doing that same thing. The reality of that perception is that while they may look and be perceived to be doing something you're not, you might actually be gaining more ground in a harder, more achievable, and earned reality than they are out there on that Friday or Saturday night building their perception. I want to say something, I want you to remember it. I'm going to flash it up on the screen. Remember that while it's important to bring attention to who you are and what you're doing and all the great things that are happening, it's more important that your reality at least comes close to the perception you are putting out into the world. Because the killer of good perception is bad reality. Now that we know what the perception deception is, how do we identify it? Because that's very important to you as a person. It's important to me as a person. If it's not, it should be. You know, we talk about everybody having certain kind of radars, and you know, it's that old thing where you can spot bullshit from a mile away. And that's a good radar to have, but let me tell you, the most important radar I think you can have is the ability to tell if you are competing with somebody's perception or their reality. Don't get yourself into a situation where you find yourself competing with somebody's perception. I never see that work. I see these artists all the time trying to one-up their competition. Oh, well, he or she did this, I'm gonna do this and make it look bigger and better. That's falling prey to competing with your competition's perception and not necessarily their reality. I encourage you to focus on your reality. Bring positive perception and truth to your ability. Here's the trick. It may not always look or feel or sound as good as somebody else's perception, but I guarantee you this, your reality, if it's truthful, will always win. Trust me, you can look out over social media and like I said earlier, it just looks like everybody's living the perfect life all the time because that's the perception. That's what people want you to believe. People think that if you are perceived to be successful, that you are successful or knowledgeable or an expert or anything else. And we tend to believe that numbers back that up. But let me tell you, and I promise you this is true, nobody's life is that good. Nobody wakes up every day and just consistently has one good thing happen to them after another. It doesn't happen. This is real life. And you know as well as I do that life just doesn't stand around waiting to hand you a bowl of cherries. Nobody succeeds all the time. But if you look at people's social media, you would think that that's all they do. They're just one walking, talking success story. Nothing could be further from the truth. And this is the easiest way to spot the perception deception. And ask yourself and sit down and really think. It's awesome to be competitive. But if you're gonna put your time, effort, energy, and passion into competing with other people, make sure that you're competing with their reality and not competing with their perception. Like I said at the beginning, is your bark bigger than your bite? Is your sizzle greater than your steak? Because here's the one thing that I do know. Yeah, people buy the sizzle, but if the steak is undercooked, they kind of quickly forget about how great the sizzle was, and they tell everybody they know how horrible the steak was. I'm gonna give you a couple examples of real world, my life examples on the difference between somebody's perception and somebody's reality and how close they can be and how that benefits them, and also how far apart they can really be, but also still spell success for them. I had a friend for a long time that was a professional athlete, and he and I were just kind of simpatico for a while. It's like it was meant to be that we crossed paths. He has reached what all of us, anybody would consider to be the height of his career. He has won major championships. He has made hundreds of millions of dollars and is one of the most recognizable figures in his sport. But he's not really known in his sport for what he did while playing the sport. He's a real guy. He had real issues in his life. He has real personal issues. Along the journey of all the success were all the negative stories that came out. And he kind of took on this persona of being the everyman's man. And it worked out really well for him. Now, he could have gone on and just shown people the bright side of success and how great it is to be one of the best in the world at this, and I live this lifestyle and I do this and I travel here and I've got million-dollar homes and I've got all these cars, and he could show that to the world. But instead, he chose to show the world the truth, and the world loved him for it. And it's for that very reason, that reality, that he let people in. He showed them the truth. He showed them who he really was. That became his perception. But the awesome thing about it is that his perception is his reality. They are intertwined and they are married, and they have given him a career for 35 years. That's why I'm talking to you today about this and how important it is for your perception to match your reality. You can point to example after example of people buying into the truth. Have you ever heard, if you've ever been a salesman or you ever worked somewhere when you were a kid, or even somewhere now in a retail situation or selling whatever. But this is a big, I don't know if this was a Dale Carnegie thing or not, or where it started, or a Zig Ziglar thing. I remember that was big lots of years ago. But somewhere along the line in sales training, they always taught you that people never buy the product. They're never buying the product. They're buying the salesman. And if they buy into you, they'll buy whatever product that you have. In the music business, we see that all the time. Look at Taylor Swift. They're not just buying her music. They're buying every product that she puts out because they have bought into her. Whether it's toilet paper, toothbrushes, dresses, hats, jewelry, anything she puts her name on, people rush out and buy. It's not because they want the product so much. It's not because they want the perception. It's because they feel like they're buying a piece of her and they're connecting with a piece of her. It's time after time, people have shown that, yeah, sure, we appreciate, and at times we overpraise a very successful perception. But at the end of the day, reality and truthfulness and obtainability, that always wins. People always buy the person. So the closer your reality is to your perception, the better off you're going to be. Now, the second example I want to give you today is where a perception can be so far away from the reality, but also be a very positive thing. And I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this story. I don't think he will, or sharing kind of his testimony and a little bit about him. But my best friend in the entire world is an artist in Los Angeles. He and his family moved from South Africa to Los Angeles, I don't know, maybe 15, 16 years ago, maybe longer now, maybe 18. I think it was 2000, so like 18 years ago. And he was a very successful singer, artist, entertainer in South Africa. But back then, so many things were going on. It was a horrible place to be. Apartheid was happening, and it was just, South Africa was in turmoil. And he wanted to bring his family to America to have a better life. So he did. They packed everything they owned, had very little money, and they moved to the United States. He started playing in small hotels and getting little small gigs here or there, but nothing that compared to the level of success that he was having in South Africa on the radio or playing concerts or doing any of that. But he kept working. He kept working very, very hard. And between where he was when they got here to where he is today, let me tell you something. Here's a big thing about perception. If you looked up his Facebook page today, you're not going to see a ton of likes. If you looked up his Instagram, you're not going to see a lot of followers. If you looked up his Twitter, which I don't even know if he has Twitter, you're not going to find very many followers. But what he has managed to do over the last 18 years is phenomenal. So what I'm saying is, if you looked at the perception, you would think is not very successful. He doesn't have very many followers. He doesn't have very many likes on that picture. He must be a nobody. Let me tell you about my friend. And like I said, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but it's so real world, I want to share this with you. He went from coming here with nothing, very little money, married with a wife and a daughter, to now he is and has been named the artist to the stars. He plays private shows and corporate events all over the world. When Tom Cruise throws a party, he calls my best friend because he wants him to perform. When Oprah does something, she calls him. He has performed for presidents and probably the most famous people in the world at their private parties and functions, and does private gigs for some of the largest corporations in the world, like Google. Lives on the beach in Southern California in a almost $2 million house, has the Range Rovers, has all the cars, and has a phenomenal life. But if you looked him up on social media, your perception of him would think that he hasn't accomplished much because he doesn't have a lot of followers and he doesn't have a lot of likes and he doesn't have a lot of that. That's all perception, but the perception couldn't be further from his reality. We've got to stop basing people's worth and their value on social media numbers. We're doing ourselves and other people such a disservice. So you want to know how to make your perception closer to your reality? Here's how you do it. Take people with you on your journey. Show them the truth. Be honest, be real, be transparent. If you do that, I can guarantee you and I promise you that you will be shocked, amazed, and surprised at the number of people that show up to help you. Everybody wants to be a part of a success story. But everybody also wants to know that when they do chip in, and when we're talking about the music, chipping in can be supporting a GoFundMe campaign, downloading your EP, streaming your single, watching your YouTube video. People want to know that they're buying into something authentic and that they're giving their hard-earned time and dollars and passion and belief into something that's real. The last point I want to say is something I kind of touched on a little bit earlier, and I wrote it down and I'm going to read it, and I might put it up on the screen because I think this is so important. Please pay attention to this. We as a people need to stop assigning real value to the things we perceive. We need to stop basing our opinions on someone's social media presence or the number of followers they have. We have to stop the line of thinking that just because someone has a large social media following, that they're great at what they're doing and they know what they're talking about. But on the other side of the coin, we also have to stop undervaluing people and their ability based solely on their social media numbers. People's truths and worth and ability can't be determined by likes or followers on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Basing our opinion on those things alone makes us shallow, closed-minded, and guilty ourselves of pushing forward the deception of perception. Don't you think we're better than that? I think we are. And I think people deserve, want, and need to see the real you. Show them that, and you're a winner already. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another video today. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. If you didn't get anything out of it and you absolutely hated it, click the thumbs down button, but just make sure that you click it twice. And as always, guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do that. I really appreciate it. I try to respond to you guys and thank you when you do. It means more to me. It makes doing and setting all this stuff up, it makes it worth it, so I appreciate it. So hit the subscription button, hit the little bell next to it so that you're notified every time I upload new content. Want to follow me across social media? It's all right down there. It's at the Steve Freeman on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now Twitch. Guys, as always, I love to hear from you. Please leave a comment in the comment section below if you ever have a question, or you have a comment, or you've got a topic that you'd like me to discuss in a video or a vlog. All you have to do is just let me know. My contact information is in the description below, or you can leave it in the comment section below as well. Guys, until next time, keep being creative. Keep pushing the boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you next time.